find it. All right, here we are. If you are just joining, this is Just Stamp with Anna Marie. It is class time today. Woodland Cozy is meeting clean and simple with just enough wow. And I've got the perfect trifecta. I've got layout, I've got techniques, and I've got purpose. So here's card number 1. Well, actually that's going to be card number 3, card number 2, and card number 1. We are going to be crafting today with cards you can get in the mail right away. This is also my Happy Mail class for the month. So if you love these cards, I will pop them in the mail, or the supplies in the mail for you. All the prep work is done. All you need to do is stamp and assemble. So let's get started right away. Card number 1. This one, it's a great place to start. This is a thank you card, and the layout, keep this layout in your back pocket, my friends. It is a clean and simple layout you can use anytime. It's a horizontal strip with a focal point, and it's an instant finished card, right? We've got 2-step stamping going on, which means we're going to be layering the color. First we stamp the base image, and then we add the detail. So let's get started again. I would love to send this little kit in the mail to you. Just hop over to my online store, place an order by the 31st, $50 or more after shipping and tax, and I will send you the kit to make these usable cards. So my card base is Mossy Meadow. I have a layer of pattern paper. This pattern paper comes from a paper pack in the annual catalog. I believe it's called Weekend Adventure. One of my favorite. So these cards have either a woodsy feel, a masculine feel. Here's the flip side, little tiny acorns. I love the greens going on here. I am going to adhere this, and I'm going to tell you my favorite adhesive, the Tombow liquid glue. So forgiving, it's economical, but I'm going to mention as well, there is a new catalog coming May 5th, and besides all the amazing new suites and bundles, stamp sets, papers, you are also going to notice some price increases, and I'm fairly confident that the Tombow liquid glue is increasing in price just by about 50 cents, not a lot. And you know what? My office mate just walked in the room. I hope he doesn't start barking. That would be Fergus. So I've layered my pattern paper onto the Mossy Meadow. I also have a layer here that I'm going to be using my early espresso, and I pre-die cut it. Excuse me. Pre-die cut it with my postage dies. I hope you have those because they are some of my favorite. This one is the second largest size. That is going to be the background for our focal point, which is on a 4 1/4 by 3 inch basic white. We have some things going on here, including a die cut. This, I think it's called, oh my goodness, let me see if I can find the name. One of my favorite, Scenic Adventures. And I can tell you, this one's going to be a keeper. I think it was an online exclusive, no longer available, if I'm right. But I love the alpine trees we've got going on here. And you're going to see other elements from the same die set in just a little bit. Before we attach those, let's do a little bit of splatter in the background. I'll show you how I did that. We will, let's see. Instead, on my original, I used early espresso. This time I'm going to go for, let's see, Misty Moonlight. Here's how I did it. I took a little block. It's the smallest acrylic block. It's the A block, and I don't think A is available anymore. It's one of my favorite sizes for alphabets and more. And what I'm going to do is use my watercolor brush, and had myself all set up. Here we go. And I've got a little bowl of water because I want this to be a little bit wet. I'm going to take a paper towel and do this so that I don't get my mat wet. So I've got my ink going on here. I'm going to dip my water painter into the little water bowl. I'm going to add some water here, and you probably want plenty of water. You can see I'm just pulling my water together, and I'm just going to lightly splatter just little specks of sky blue or blue skies. And remember, this is water, so it's going to take a little bit of time to dry. You don't need a lot. The closer you get, the bigger the water spots. Back up a little bit and you'll get more of a spray. And I'm just going to rinse that out because I am going to be using this a little bit later. Not sure about that block, but I'm going to set it aside just in case. Okay, I'm going to put my water brush off to the side. Hopefully I don't lose it. Okay, and my water. Just trying to be a little bit cautious. Okay, let me know when you pop in. And my question to you is, are you a crafter who crafts because you need the card right now, or are you one who crafts and saves it for later when you might need it? All right, so now I've got my little background going on here. I am going to be adhering my alpine trees that I pre-die cut, but I'm going to put a little bit of ground shadow on here using one of the stamps from the set. This is like a little shadow stamp, and we have this in 3 sizes. I'm going to take my pecan pie, and I'm just going to stamp to ground these little trees, and I'm going to stamp off because I don't want it too dark. So 1, 2, and I'm going to stamp all the way so that the deer also has a little grounding area. So I'm done with that. I'm going to set that aside for now. Add my trees with my favorite liquid glue. And I'm just going to put little dots of glue. I don't want a lot. I don't want a sticky mess. I don't want it oozing out. That would not be right. Okay, so I'm going to add it. I want the trees to go way up to the top. And just a little bit of pressure. And next, I'm going to set that aside. Oh, I hear my houndies in the background. I am going to take the greeting that says, "A little note of thanks." This is one of the reasons I love this stamp set, Notes of Spring. It is the product of the month for March. Available when you place an order of $75 or more. You can add this for just $5. And by the way, you do need to add it to your cart. It's kind of tricky. The offer will pop up on your screen, and you have to click probably about 2 or 3 times before it's actually in your cart. And you want to make sure when you check out that it is in your cart, because Stampin' Up has already warned us it is not possible to go back and correct that after the order has been submitted. So I know some of my friends have lost out on this product of the month because of that. It's easily forgotten, but you just want to make sure when you close out your order that you see it on there. I'm just going to add the little greeting. By the way, this is on Basic Beige in Early Espresso, and it's the full width of the white layer. So I've just added that. I'm now ready to add this to my postage stamp die cut, and I'm adding it with liquid glue. Again, this one has that go-to layout. We've got 2-step stamping coming up in just a second. And I'm going to set that aside. while we stamp our little deer. I am going to take a scrap. Let's see if I have one handy right here. And I'm going to stamp my deer in Early Espresso. Now this is the deer or the fawn, and I'm using a full inking, full force Early Espresso. I'm going to stamp it right onto my scrap. And the coloring on this one is going to be so easy because we're going to use that two-step stamp that's included in the set. I'm going to go in a lighter shade of brown. This is Pecan Pie. And you can see this one's just a little blur. That's going to add our color fill. I'm going to ink up and I'm going to fill in the color with one step. So our first step was the outline, second is the detail stamping. And you're going to notice that the little white on the bridge and on the on the tail, the ears, that is intended to be there. So don't fret that you didn't stamp correctly. It's just that that's how the stamp is created, and you want that, a little bit of variation. So here we go. We are going to cut this. So if you are a fan of fussy cutting, it's going to be a breeze. If you're not a fan of fussy cutting, no worries, because it's very simple, not a lot of detail. And I'm just going to go up and move the paper, kind of move around. And it's a very easy design to cut. Just turn the paper. And there we go. So far, all of the product of the months from Stampin' Up! It was introduced in December. I have loved all of the products, excuse me. We've had designer series paper, 2 packs, I think. This is the second stamp set, and we already know upcoming for April is going to be a very cool die. Lots of intricate detailing on a full-size die, and that'll be available in April. And it's a little bit confusing. This is the stamp set for March, or the product for March. However, if there is still inventory, it will stay available, and when you check out, you can actually choose which product of the month you'd like, provided you haven't already received that product. All right, here we go. We've got our little fawn, very easy to color, clean and simple. We are going to add it to our matted layer. I'm going to add it with dimensionals. I'm going to flip that over. Let's see if I've got my dimensionals handy here. I'm using minis. Love the coloring on this card. So again, it can lean toward masculine cards or summer cards, because a lot of us go camping during the summer. This would be the scene we meet up with while camping. And I'm going to lay it right over top. You can barely see the bits of shadow that we stamped earlier. So he has a little bit of covering there. My shadow is barely peeking out there. It was peeked out a little bit more in my original, which is what I'd shoot for. No worries. It's all good, right? It's still going to be a thank you card that we can send. I'm going to add this layer with my standard size dimensionals. So dimensionals do come in 3 varieties. One, we have the standard, 2, the mini, and then there also is the black combo pack that has both sizes in it. And as with my adhesives, I like to have all of those on my crafty shelf because I like them for different purposes. So I'm just going to add that right in the middle there. Now, so far we've got a nice clean and simple thanks, easy layout. We're going to open that up and we are going to add our insert, and we're using just a basic white. This is 5 by 3 3/3. I'll show you what I stamped previously. So just a little bit of the detailing from the stamp set. We're going to stamp the tall leaves, if I can find them right here. And we're going to use Mossy Meadow. So now in the new catalog, you may have seen, if you're clicking around on the internet, you may have seen that Stampin' Up! Is going to be introducing a new kind of ink pad. It's magnetic, not this funky flip that we have to do. And it's got the linen pad instead of the spongy pad. So I'm looking forward to that. I think it's going to be much better. I know my spongy pads have to be inked up quite frequently. The linen, not as often, and they won't be a struggle to open. So I'm going to take my shadow stamp, I'm going to add that right below my greenery, and again, I'm going to repeat my thanks. Let's see if I can clean off my stamp, because this time I just want the thanks. I don't need a little note of thanks, I just want thanks. And to do this, for me, it's fairly simple. It's a clean line across between the two greetings. I'm going to move my Mossy Meadow, and I'm going to bring in my early espresso. And what I like to do, you could mask it off. You could use the markers, not the alcohol markers, just standard markers. Or you can do as I like to do and just get in there. You can see straight through on the photopolymer what you're inking up, just that word. And by the way, because we're using the photopolymer stamps, I do have a chipboard right below, which is perfect to use, or you could use the Pierce mat, your choice. But you want something below. It's a little guarantee, a little insurance of a better inking when you stamp. All right, so we've got our thanks for the inserts, and I'm going to add this again, liquid glue, and I think I developed a little tiny, there we go, clog, there we go, better. You will see when I add my liquid adhesive, I don't use a lot, and I come in about 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch around the perimeter, so that when I adhere it, nothing is oozing out. It's clean, it's easy, my hands are not getting sticky, and there we go. So a little note of thanks. We're not quite done yet. Let's bring in some embellishments. And if you receive this kit as Happy Mail, these will be included in your kit. I'm using dragonflies. They are retired, but I have a supply, so I'm able to include those in the kit. And I'm also using some very coordinated embellishments. These are called pecan pie and clear. So I'm going to take the pecan pie, and again, these are going to be included in your kit. They are no longer available, but again, I have the supply, so I'm going to share them with you. I'm going to start with a larger one, and I like to use my take your pick to get in under there. So, whoops, I actually grabbed the smaller one first. Let me grab the larger, and I'm just going to add it there. So there's 1, 2, and I'm going to add a 3rd towards the top of the trees. And there is our little note of thanks with our sweet fawn and a great insert for writing our note. It's card number 1. But these little woodland creatures continue, so I'm going to add my second card. So I'm going to have that cute bunny that hops on in. And we're going to use another technique, coloring technique this time. You can see I've got some layers going on. These are included in your class kit. We have the everyday arches, and I've got that little splattered sky background. And this is on a pecan pie card base. This one is portrait orientation. Let's see. It was pre-scored at 4 1/4. I'm going to burnish with my bone folder. There we go, set that up. And first layer goes on with liquid glue. Look at the back side of that paper. You almost don't want this covered up. Oh, I love the compass and the little bear tracks, hiking boot tracks, all kinds of camping elements. This goes centered on our card base, about 1/4 of an inch from the bottom. I believe this is the largest everyday dies. And so we got a little sky, night sky going on. We're going to add another layer. Let's see. Oh my goodness, where did it go? Right here. All right, I've got a pecan pie layer. I'm going to set this aside here because we're not quite ready to work with that yet. I have the next size down in basic white. This is going to be our stamping layer, but I also have another die cut from the, let's see, what were they called? Scenic Adventure die. So this one has a little like a shrubbery outline. It's got texture going on, and I ran it through the same size everyday arch so that we have that nice little stitching going on the side. Before we adhere that, we're going to add some greenery. We're going to take that tall leaf stamp again, Mossy Meadow. Let me bring back in my chipboard. We're going to be stamping on here. And I'm going to use this as a guide because I want my greenery to peek out. So I don't want to stamp too low. I'm going to bring that up, stamp down, and let's do the other size of greenery. There's a taller and a shorter. We're going to use the shorter on the right, and we're going to stamp a couple times. There we go. Might be too low. No worries. All right, so I've got that going on. I also, just for a little bit of texture, added some stamping onto the Mossy Meadow layer. And I'm looking around. And so I'm using a stamp, also from the stamp set. It's the largest shadow stamp. And I'm going to stamp that green layer with a little bit of texture. And I want to also stamp a little bit lower so that the bunny has a landing spot. And you can see a little bit of depth created with that larger shadow. That is going to be adhered, and I'm going to do that now before I lose it. Liquid glue, just a tiny bit. You can see how little I use. I know when I'm watching other stampers apply their liquid glue, I think, you don't really need to squeeze. You kind of just need a little tiny trail, a little snail trail. All right, so there we go. We have our ground going on. I am now going to add a few clouds in the sky, again with the Mossy Meadow stamp pad. Or sorry, not Mossy Meadow, Misty Moonlight. Too many M's going on. Okay, so let's see. I want that smaller shadow stamp. I'm going to use it as a cloud. Nope, I want the smallest. That's my medium one. Okay, then I'm stamping on Misty Moonlight, smallest shadow, but I'm going to stamp off because I just want these little clouds to be very faint up here. And I'm going to keep repeating. It's like a little cloudy day. Let's do one more. Very faint. All right, and let's go back and we're going to repeat that little bit of splatter. Let's see if I can get some more ink off of this. Dip it in my water bowl, refresh that, and whoops, didn't get a lot of color there. Not getting a lot. There we go. All right, that is wet. So I'm gonna set that aside while we do our stamping. And we have a couple of things to stamp. First off, let's stamp our bunny on that same scrap. Again, the outline layer is going to be stamped in early espresso. By the way, I'm using all the sizes on my acrylic blocks. This one's on the B. I like to use a block that's fitted for the stamp. I don't want to go too big. Sometimes you get residual on the block. All right, then I want my fill stamp in a lighter brown. And I'm going to do my two-step stamping. I'm going to stamp off, and I'm going to fill this with a little bit of brown. So we have a brown bunny, brown woodland bunny. But this one, I'm going to add a little bit of detailing. So I'm going to bring in my watercolor pencils, and I've got Melon Mambo and Early Espresso. Let me move these ink pads out of the way. I don't want to stick my paws in them. Okay, so to start, let me start with the Melon Mambo. I'm going to do a little bit of ear interior right here. And with the watercolor pencils, you do not need to apply very much pencil coloring. I'm going to bring in my blender pen. And the good news is that these are now back in stock. I waited a couple months for mine. So this is maybe a little bit more pink than I wanted, but I'm good with it. And to clean it, we just kind of brush off on our chipboard or on a scrap piece of paper. Next, I'm going to bring in my Early Espresso, and I'm going to do a little bit of outlining first, just around the edges, a little bit of darkness. I'm just adding some detail to this little bunny. And I'm also going to add some little spots. So he's not a solid color bunny. So a little, almost like a little heart-shaped spot. Put a little crown on him in here. And then over by his front paws. And a little bit of outline around the edges. And again, I'm going to come in with my watercolor brush. Sorry, my blender pen. All right, watercolor brush would be too much water. And I'm just gonna push that ink around, blend it in so it's a little more subtle. And got a little bit of darker fur in some spots. And so we just added a little bit of color in here, a little bit of definition, and just blend it right in here. There we go. All right, so we used our watercolor pencils, our two-step stamping technique. There's our cute little bunny. Again, we have to fussy cut, so let's see where I drop my snips. And more good news for those of you who are a fan of Stampin' Up's paper snips. They are returning soon. Not quite yet. I'm not sure what month, but the good news is they're coming back. I do like them. I've tried other small snips and they didn't compare. They were a little bit clunkier. These I love, and I always have several pair going on. I have my ribbon snips and lots of snips around my craft table. So I'm so glad that they're coming back. They're also very reasonably priced. So we'll see. I think they're going to come back as an online exclusive to start. And just with, as I did with the fawn, I'm turning the paper. And again, it's a pretty easy, clean line to follow. And I'm not overly concerned if some white bits are whiter than others. It's okay. Handmade. This is a beautiful birthday card. Did I mention that yet? So on the front, it says especially for you, but we're gonna add a birthday greeting on the inside as well. Okay, so there's my bunny. As I said, I still need to stamp the greeting. Now, if I show you my original, you're gonna see I tried to emphasize and bring a little bit more interest to the greeting. It says especially for you. Well, here's how I did that. We have our greeting still from the same stamp set, and I am going to first stamp the U in Cajun Craze, and I'm going to do the same technique I did with the thanks. I'm just going to come onto the pad, grab some ink for the U, and I'm going to add this at the end of my little label. And oops, I could have helped myself by putting the stamp onto the block straight, but it's not. Too late. All right, so there's my U. Now here's the trickier part, and I do have an extra label just in case I muff this one up. So what we want to do, first of all, I need to make sure that that stamp is clean when we're using it for the second time. Then I'm going to ink up especially for in early espresso. And I'm gonna take a deep breath, say a little prayer, and get it right into position. And right there. So I am someone who likes to play with the greetings on the stamp sets, mask them, chop them. Oh, I got it. Looks like there's a little bit of dampness in there, but I'm going to be okay with it, especially for you. So that goes on the exterior. Let's go ahead and finish the front to the card up before I move on to the insert. So I have a little strip of that same pattern paper we used on our last card. It's just going to lay right across the green layer. And you guessed it, liquid glue, just a little tiny line. I'll go ahead and apply that. And this just kind of grounds the greeting, which is kind of small. We want to show it off a bit. Now you can see my paper is too long, and that's why I like to adhere my layers from top to bottom before I put it onto my card base. So I snip that down. Next, I'm going to add my especially for you. This time I'm using dimensionals. So let me grab those. And here we go. So one at each end, maybe in the middle. There we go, our dimensionals. Put them right there where they belong. There's a novel thought, put it where it belongs. Okay, and remove the backing. Let's go. And we're just going to add it right kind of center to our little pattern paper. And last step here is to add our bunny. And let's go ahead and use the same size dimensionals. I want to get some up on the ears just for a little support. And one more. Well, let's see if we can get one on the other ear. That is why I love the minis, all those little spots. And let's take this off. Guys, these are the cleanest layouts and techniques you can use to get those cards made and sent. So I'm going to let him hover kind of over the especially right in there. I'm going to add that there. And I'm going to go ahead and adhere this. Liquid glue, this is a flat adhesive. we're going to bring it right in here. Oops, I can see my little greenery kind of got waterlogged. There are some wet spots. And this layer goes on with dimensionals. And again, and by the way, let me also mention I've got, for those who purchase this set or get your order up to $75, one, at that level you can add the product of the month, and you will also receive my exclusive tutorial with the product of the month. So you'll have 12 ideas, 12 inspirations for this Notes of Spring created by 12 different demonstrators. Now on the inside, we've got an insert going on here. Happiest birthday wishes. See what I did there? So especially for you, happiest birthday wishes. Again, my insert layers, the 3.5 by 5, or 3 3/4 by 5. And let's see, I'm looking for my chipboard. Let's do our stamping. And we're gonna take our cute little goose, which we haven't used yet. He's gonna be coming up in card number 3 though. We're gonna take our goose, and you know what? First, let me do some positioning here. I'm gonna take my stamp, my greeting stamp, happiest birthday wishes. And I'm gonna stamp mostly centered, I would say, in early espresso. Now that helps guide me for placement for the goose. So right up here, he's gonna be right over the eye. Make sure he's kind of straight. So I do think he's a goose, not a duck. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe like a mallard. Okay, so there we go. And let's do the short little greenery right here in, lots of ink pads going on here. Mossy Meadow. Let's just give him a little bit of greenery off to the side, and let's ground that greenery. This is the smallest shadow stamp. We're going to bring him in right below there. And let's do our 2-step stamping for the insert goose. You guessed it, there's a stamp for that. 2-step stamping, and of course, I'm going to want to do stamping off, also known as 2nd generation stamping. So stamp off, then stamp onto my actual project paper. There we go, so sweet. Happiest birthday wishes. Let me move my pecan pie. Get some of these things out of the way. Oh, I got a little smudge. Okay, we're gonna have to fix that. This goes on the insert. I don't know how I got that smudge, but smudge happens, right? Okay, so again, not a lot of liquid glue. Center that in position. And let's see if we can add one of those sweet little dragonflies onto that smudge. And he's gonna go flying off the page. All right, there. And let's add our embellishments to the outside. Right there. We've got the pecan pie. Oh, I am losing my tools. Why? Because I don't put them away. Okay. Let's use our fingers because I cannot find my, take your pick. There's my struggle. So the trick is to get your fingernail underneath the embellishment. Otherwise, you don't pull off the glue dot needed. And I'm going to add 2 and 3 right up here. And there we go. There's especially for you birthday card. So sweet. Cloudy day, blue skies, card number 2. Let's go with card number 3. Now we're using our cute goose, and we're going to do a different coloring technique. We're going to be using stamping blends on this technique. My background layer is Cajun Craze this time. So these are colors that I don't typically use, but I do love them, especially for masculine cards or for woodland cards, summer cards, campy cards. I love the color scheme, and I love the paper. Weekend Adventures, I think it's called. Should still be available. I didn't have time to check. It was in the it is in the annual catalog. By the way, talking about catalogs, if you are a customer who has ordered from Stampin Up in the past 6 months, you will get your catalog for free. If you'd like me to send you a catalog but you haven't ordered with me before, just drop me an email. I'll put my link in my comments, and I'll let you know how I can get the catalog to you. So I'm going to start off with my matted layer, and because I was talking, I did something I don't typically like to do. I'm starting with the wrong layer, but this one's fairly straightforward, so we should be safe. So black matte, 5 1/4 by 4. Then I have that great buffalo check. I love this. The back is very nice too, basic black and white stripes. So this paper is a keeper. It's very usable for masculine cards. Then I'm going to center that right on the black layer. And again, we're going to do a birthday card. So let's see. We're going to stamp our mallard. We're going to color. We're going to do a little bit of splatter. Our greeting. Let's get started. I'm going to move this aside. Bring in, let's see, what do I need? My pre-cut stylish shaped circle. I need my chipboard, and again I'm going to grab some Misty Moonlight because I want to do a little bit of splatter. Let's see. I've got all these ink pads open. And let's see if I can get some more splatter on here. Mostly I'm getting water. There we go. Okay, I don't want to get my fingernail dirty, but I guess I could just splatter that. There we go. There's a little faint splatter. Love it. Glad I did that. Okay, so I'm looking for my paper towel. What? It's way out of reach. Okay, I'm gonna wipe that down, clean that off, and this time I'm gonna soak up a little bit of that water, just bring it up. There we go. Better. Let's stamp our mallard, and let's see. Here he is, early espresso, and I'm gonna stamp him off to the right. Oh, excuse the noise. And since we have our pads out, we're going to stamp the greeting, happiest birthday wishes. This is on the Stylish Shapes label. And let's see, right here in Early Espresso again. And I'm going to stamp it off center. So this will fit on the label. There's not a lot of white space top or bottom. It's just the way I like my labels actually. And there's my greeting, happiest birthday wishes. And you're gonna notice, let me bring in my original. This has the banner edge only on one side, so I'm gonna snip this. Oops, I have a little extra piece there. And I'm gonna allow just a tiny border there. Oops, not very straight. If I could cut straight. Let me trim that off just a tiny bit. And to get the little detailing over on that edge as well, here's what I did. I'm gonna take your pick, look at that, I found it. And I'm going to bring in just a little straight edge. And I'm gonna make some little stitches, just the little needle stitches. Give that nice little detail. Whoops, that didn't come out very straight. I must have moved my ruler. No worries. All right, you get the idea. So I'm gonna have my little stitches there on the side. My original was a little bit better. Of course, things always come out better when you're not on camera, so I'm gonna snip that just a tiny bit more. So I'm gonna have my label there. Let's color our mallard. And here's what I used. So I've got some light smoky slate. These are the neutrals, and it looks like I have 200, 300. I have Pretty Peacock light, and then I'm gonna have dark Darling Duckling, and I have my color lifter just in case. So I'm gonna start with the easiest point. I'm gonna start with the bullet tip of Darling Duckling and fill in this little mallard's beak. I'm going to come in with my Pretty Peacock and color his head and tiny bit of the neck. These are the stamping blends. So another coloring technique. We used our two-step stamping, we used watercolor pencils, now we're using our Stampin' Blends. Then I am going to come in with my lighter. So it's kind of crazy how the numbering works on the neutrals. The smaller the number gets, and we go in 100s, the darker it gets. So I hope I said that right. Yeah, 100 will be darker, 1000 is lighter. I'm gonna go with the lighter. Let's just make sure. Let's see if I have a little swatch. That's pretty dark. Let me, that was 200. Well, that makes sense. 300 is gonna be just a tiny bit lighter, but you know what? Before I do that, let me do an overall wash with the smoky slate. And I can tell you, I think my smoky slate needs, I think it's lived a full life. I think I need to lay it to rest, get a new one. And I might even have one. The brush tips just get beaten up when you share your blends, as I do in classes. They just get passed around and they have a life. All right, now I'm gonna do a little brown, and I'm gonna leave a little bit of gap between the coloring. So there's a little white line between his Pretty Peacock head. And what I'm gonna do is leave a little bit of a white chest or gray chest in this area, just like so. I am gonna put in a little bit of brown around the wings and undercoat, and then a little bit of brown on his back. And then the underbelly, I'm just leaving smoky slate. A little bit of brown on the tail, there we go. Now, you can kind of blend that in with your color lifter, just so it blends, smudges the edges, so it's not such a defined transition. There we go. So there is our mallard. We've colored, we've done a little bit of splatter. Let's put him onto our card base before I lose him, right? There. And dimensionals. And let's see. I check that because I don't want to put dimensionals up to the edge. I am going to be slipping in the greenery under the die cut. All right, so we're going to bring him in upper half of the card, so almost equal distance on 3 sides. So about the same margin on the left, top, and right. Let's keep going. So the next inking I did, and I pre-stamped and pre-colored these so you wouldn't have to watch me stamp and fussy cut. This greenery is part of the stamp set, and the cool thing about it is you can either make it all green, or you can, if you look closely, you can see a little flower in there as well. So you could color that area a different color and make it like a little flower within the greenery. So here's what I did. The first one I put in center over the duck, over the mallard, sorry, or the goose. And let's see, I'm gonna do 1 large and 2 minis. Ay, ay, ay. So I'm just reminding myself, if I think I mess up, I'm just gonna add a little bit of embellishment, a little bit of character, I'm gonna call it. So all the techniques are very forgiving, and that's what I love about this. Like the watercolors, the splatter, it's all a technique. It's a forgiving technique, but it's a great way to add some charm. And hey, even the imperfections are charming, right? So let's keep going here. I'm still gonna finish off my little birthday card with the mallard. The heavy paper is doing the heavy lifting here, or sorry, the pattern paper is doing the heavy lifting here. A little bit of alcohol coloring. And you notice I didn't overblend, leave a lot of white space because that adds to your design. And we're going to just add our greenery there. And then I've got 2 other shrubs or greenery that I already colored and cut. And I'm gonna slip them in the sides. Now, you can see it's floating off the edge. Here's how I'm gonna solve that. It's an easy fix. Remember, goofs, the imperfections, we just improvise and add the character. So I just trimmed it off. That way it pushes in just a little bit more, right like so. And this one's gonna be flat adhesive. So just a little bit of liquid glue. And I'm gonna slip that in just like so. So I wanna stay within the perimeter of the card. Otherwise you have issues when you're inserting it into the envelope. There we go. And we have 1 more, and again, I'm gonna flip it the other orientation, and just to be safe, I'm gonna snip off a little bit, add my liquid glue, and this little bush I did stamp with Mossy Meadow, and then I colored it in with the light Mossy Meadow blend. So right there, just so, pressing down. And oh my goodness, how did I get, my fingers are very smudgy. Look what I did, I ruined my label. So that I don't want to fix. How about I do another? I do happen to have another one here. Let's do another label, which just tells you, there's nothing that precludes you from doing it again, right? Let me bring in my happiest wishes. There we go. Happiest birthday wishes. And I'm stamping again the white label from the Stylish Shapes. Not the smallest, just the second smallest, I think. And let's do it a little differently this time. Hopefully my hands are not dirty. Let me bring in my ruler. See, this was a great opportunity to do it again. But you know what? I'm going to trim it first, because even if I have to trim it again, because I want to make sure I'm at the right size. If I had a clear ruler, that wouldn't be an issue, but I don't have that with me right now. Let me bring back in my, take your pick, and this time I'm going to hold a little firmer, butt it right up there. There we go. Better. And I am going to snip just a tiny bit here. Yay. All right, so I have a clean label this time. And let's bring this in. I'm going to add this with a dimensional at the left. And I'm not sure. Standard one fits. And at the right, I'm going to add just a little dotted glue. And then I'm going to slip that right in there. And I'm not going to do the embellishments yet, because we're going to do the insert. Let me show you. We just have the little goose on some greenery, so that's easy enough. Let me bring in my insert, basic white. Let's stamp our goose in early espresso. And let's see, we want the greenery, and I used, not that it has to be the same, it could be different, but whoops, sorry about that. Keep knocking the camera around. And let's see, I'm looking for my small greenery. Here we go. Mossy Meadow. Let me bring this in. Sometimes I don't double check my ink color. I just ink up at the color nearest me, and that's a mistake. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of the greenery off to the side. And then we're going to do some shadow stamping. And let's take this mid-size shadow, and we're going to do a full force and then a second step. And full force, second step. There we go. So there's our little insert. And you could leave him as is, or we can easily color fill him. If I can find my stamp, that's always a big if. All right, pecan pie, which is way across the desk. That's okay. And what I'm going to do, ink up, stamp off, stamp. There we go. Done. Let's add some liquid glue. Whoops, that one came out. I think I have a little clog going on. Let me see if I can fix that. There we go. And let me move that out of the way. That might be why I'm getting other ink colors on my card. And go for straight. You have an equal border, about 3/8 of an inch on all sides, and not done yet. Let's do some embellishments. Add a few, not a whole shaker jar. Let's start with our dragonfly. And he's just flying away from a little word with the mallard. And this time we are going to use, if I can find him, again. Here we go, right in front of me. They're practically at in my hand. I'm gonna move this out of the way because accidents happen. Okay, so let's get take your pick. I'm trying to make some room here. Clean up. And how about I close my glue as well? All right, wow, nice and tidy now. That's rubbish. Let's bring in our card. And this time I'm gonna go with the clear embellishments. I'm gonna start with the larger and a little below. Go with the mid-size, right like so. So I've got 2 at the bottom and one up top. Here's where I'm going to create a little trio. So right there, and then the smallest right in here. So you always hear you want to do it in odds. There, I've got the 5. Happiest birthday wishes with a little mallard. And here's what I want you to see. Same stamp set. Let the white space do its job. So there's 1. Here's card number 2. 3 totally different looks because of the die cuts and the paper that I've used. Let's get some things out of the way, and that's how you get more from what you already have. You can, if you decide you would like to place an order and get this kit in the mail, you can always substitute the stamp set. If you don't have the Notes of Spring, you might have something else on your shelf that already works. Get more from what you already have. And because I know how easy it is to get stuck at step 1, I turned this into the Happy Mail class. Remember, it's just a $50 order, and I'll send you the class all prepped along with a step-by-step tutorial, and everything is ready. You just need to stamp and adhere. And let's see, if you need more ideas, step your order up to $75. You can order the product of the month, and I will save you the Creative Vault tutorial with 12 additional projects. So this little product of the month, it's perfect for spring, it's perfect for baby, it's perfect for thinking of you. Masculine cards, go with the pattern paper choices I've shared with you. This is your chance. And heads up, the new catalog, while it is amazing, I love the new layout, the new organization, the new products, there is a price increase coming with certain products. So you want to be replenishing some of your adhesives. They're going up a few cents. Let's see what else is going up. Some basic rhinestones, and for me, the biggest increase was the envelopes. They are going up, I believe, by $4. Currently $11, going up to $15. All right, my friends, which was your favorite? Let me know. If you're watching live, post it in the comments. If you are watching over on YouTube, please make sure that you subscribe, that you let me know what you think. I will have all the links you might need posted in the comments below. Tell me your favorite, 1, 2, or 3. If you want the class kit, I will drop the link in the comments as well. Let's see. Your cards don't have to be sitting in a pile. Let's get them in the mail. So until next time, hop to it. Thanks for joining.